Got it.
Hey,
Hey,
good evening.
good
You
evening to you too.
you are in Kiev, Ukraine, and so it's what is it 6 p.m. your time, Friday.
Right, right. It's like the beautiful ending of my working day to be here
Uh,
talking with you.
yeah, thanks for that. I know you've arranged a quiet place for yourself to do that, so appreciate. I'm here in Dubai. It's 8 p.m. Friday. So as well, of course, a good winding up of the week. The formal working week, of course, there is plenty of work to be done during the weekend, but it's more the focus time when everybody else is not pinging you on Slack. You're able to focus on things.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. But I've been talking with some of my partners from the Mason Bay side, and they told me that crypto never sleeps and crypto doesn't have weekends. So you're correct. While you're saying that there is still a lot of work to be done on Sunday. So you're not alone in this. I guess we
Perfect.
all are
Well,
here.
so today we've gathered to discuss the sustainable finance, and we are doing this because we have been with Milestone Base. We've been building Milestone Base for ages, and you know a lot about the the hurdles and hiccups of the Web3 startup and venture capital industry. Me the same. So I'm looking forward to a really interesting conversation.
Yeah, right.
Um,
Likewise.
Yeah, probably wanted to start with asking you like how you see the previous year in crypto and how do you like the start of this year? What are you taking from away from the numerous conversations with startups, venture capital firms, and other participants in the industry?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. If to take a little bit of overview over the data that I was searching for that is available for everyone, I would say that everyone know that at the end of the 2022, at the beginning of 2022, there were a lot of investments done. There were a lot of projects arising. And if you are subscribed to any Telegram channel or even some LinkedIn QOLs, you will see, you would notice that every day someone is fundraising, every day someone is preparing a new product and it's super successful, stuff like that. So then something that is called crypto winter started. Like some people say that this is crypto winter, and the number of projects became lower. People, but still, those that are following the mission of what they are doing, not just wanting to have like fast money. They are still on the track. They are still building, and they are trying to take everything best out of the situation that we are right now in. So yeah, so I would say like right now I'm noticing like the market is a little bit speed up, and there are more new projects arising. Investors are starting investing again. New grant opportunities appearing. So yeah, that's how it looks for me. I feel like that we are speeding up. What about you, by the way?
Yeah, me the same. I don't see a lot of liquidity in the market yet, and it sometimes happens to the price. It's like it's going up, although there is still a lot of stagnation, layoffs, and stuff like that. And I'm waiting for the liquidity to come and for this bear market to be officially confirmed that. Um, yeah, I have my own indicators, very simple indicators for Bitcoin that I'm looking at, and yeah, I'd probably love to present it.
Yes, Ian always has some indicators to track the market, so it's really interesting to hear and to see.
Sure, sure. So for me, like the key thing is, of course, there are these, uh, the happening events that happen every 4 year. Now the next event is projected to be in April 2024, although someone says that it's gonna happen in the end of year 2023 because the hash rate is growing and the blocks are mining faster. But I did not check it myself. And then this straight line is actually the line that Bitcoin has been observing for many years, and it got broken in 2022. Basically, like May 2022, um, Bitcoin went like below this line, and it's so far from it, which, from one perspective, seems to be a great opportunity for buying the dip, the long term dip. On another hand, it's probably the trend that is broken, so nobody knows what's going to happen. But this line actually coincides with doubling in price annually. So if you take any 2 points on this line a year away, you'll see that the price has actually like doubled on average, and then all these hype phases of the cycle, it was just shooting out in the sky. So that was a great time to either liquidate or sell partially, or at least understand that it's far from its price doubling trajectory. But but since almost a year now, all the theory is broken. So I didn't like I need to redraw and draw some new lines now. Anyhow, so that's about like how I take the market. Yeah, and like I have my own considerations about the altcoins market and the projects that are launching in the space, because every new cycle that the bull run phase of the cycle, we see many more new projects get launched, and especially the tokens gets launched, and people having a lot of hopes and hopium, and the general audience, the consumers, are hopping in the hope to make their access by buying the tokens on the pre-sales or buying the tokens early on when they get launched. But we all know that in the end of the day, the majority of the tokens they drop in price. That's something that Silicon Valley calls a startup death valley. It's when the startup is, plenty of startups are seeded first with angel money and with the pre-seed, or what was called the seed money before. Currently, seed rounds, they are of course like through the roof. They are so large, but they were quite small before. But when the startups did not survive the past their initial investments, they were in this death valley, which in crypto is exactly the 99% of the altcoins that have lost like 95 to 95% of their value. And so what confuses me a little bit is what happens with the next bull run, when the amount of the projects that get launched become even like 10 times more than we've seen right now. So currently there is like give or take between 20 and to 50,000 good trackable projects. Like, I mean, projects that you can track, they have the token and stuff like that. But if that grows to 500,000 projects in the next bull run, how sustainable is it? Like, that's the question that concerns me. And how do we make sure that there is not that we avoid the scam, and we bring like more accountability and transparency into the startup movement, so that the projects that launch into the next bull run are actually like one level ahead of the projects that we've seen so far. Although I can't complain, the DeFi summer has given birth to really many like interesting ideas and working concepts. In fact, DeFi has uh, has got battle tested in 2022, when many centralized applications that were relying on like humans to make the right decisions, and the decisions, as we know and see now, have not been made properly with the humans. DeFi protocols have sustained it and are working stably. So I think DeFi is the future.
Yeah, I agree with you in almost all the points that were mentioned before, especially about the projects, because and their this Silicon Valley of that projects. This is something that we can also explore in the crypto markets and with the project that been launched previously. Yeah, and like I'm just curious. A lot of founders that come into the crypto world, they don't doesn't have like a lot of expertise considering what is needed to be done, especially in this market. But they want to build something because like it's Web3, something new, stuff like that. And then they face with the problems with their road mapping, with proper marketing, with proper development, with finding market fit and stuff like that. And if such things are keeping to happen, like will be happening again and again, that people are starting something, they even fundraise money for this, but then those startups are dead. How do you think, what will be the, if the things will be not changed, how do you think what will be the future of the cryptocurrency? How will the people from the outside evaluate this market, and like how do you think it's going to move in the future in this way?
Yeah, right. It's getting a lot of criticism right now from like non-Web3 people. Be like, oh, after FTX, like we are not looking into crypto. Although it's funny, the mission of like the cryptography, blockchain, and smart contracts technology is exactly to be like to create the ecosystem of products and algorithms that are predictable, and the financial applications that anybody can go into and really audit for themselves if they are the coders, or if they have the auditing company at their hand, so that they can understand what that application is doing and be particularly certain that that they will not be screwed over. But uh, the thing is that in my opinion, there is too much speculation in the space where people like people don't care for the fundamentals. They are just chasing the returns. And with every cycle, I think there is more education in the space, as in the people who came into crypto like 2 3 years ago and got hurt, got burned big time with ICOs or IDOs and FTX and other startups that potentially either have not survived or misbehaved and like mismanaged the money. So these all newcomers are now like native crypto people, I would say, and they will be more careful and will behave in a more educated way during the next crypto bull run. But of course, I'm hoping that the industry will mature where the overall understanding that there has to be certain frameworks in place, not necessarily the legal regulatory frameworks, because like they are too limiting, and they are oftentimes rigid because they are written by people who don't necessarily get the technology and whose role is not to care for the innovation and the progress. Their role is to make sure that bad things don't happen, and oftentimes, it's an obstacle to innovation that requires a little bit of risk. Yeah, and so that's why we really started building Milestone Base back in 2000. Wait, what year was it? We ideated it in 2017, 18, and started building in 2019 because we saw many inefficiencies in the space where the founders who were raising like dozens of millions of dollars, predominantly by pure luck or due to their like extraordinary marketing talents, but not more than that. Oftentimes, ICOs have been the end of the story for them, not the beginning of the startup. They never intended to build everything they promised. Just because when you get a dozen, you know, a few dozen millions, probably like it's a test, a money test that not many people can handle, and their context and their goals and day-to-day priorities just change We've also witnessed the projects that had like really great ideas and good teams behind them, but just the fact that they have raised so much money and they had so much pressure to deliver in short terms, and having a lot of money would also mean that you don't necessarily need to validate with the market anymore. You just have cash to keep building whatever you want to build without asking the consumer whether they need it. So that led to a lot of inefficiencies and failures in some larger projects. So then we thought, okay, like why not creating a system that would use smart contracts and the programmable money to its best capacity, which is escrowing the treasuries of the startups, split those treasuries into milestones, peg the budget of every milestone to the milestone in the smart contract, and get it released either in the beginning of the milestone or whenever the milestone is deemed successful by either the DAO or a group of auditors, validators, or through the data driven validation in the future. So we started like back then, um, have been working on the user interface and the blockchain roadmap, which then you have taken over. Ihor Savchuk has done a lot of work in terms of packaging milestone based in 2021, if I'm not mistaken. And then we launched the token, and then you took it over as the executive manager. Um, and here we are. Like many people are actually like interested about our solution. Yeah, and these are folks from like different verticals, so both VCs and startups. But then recently, it had turned out that auditors such as KPMG and others who need to evaluate the startups to give them the valuation every year for the venture funds, so that the venture fund can establish their valuation at the end of the day. They have some issues understanding the actual progress of the projects, and milestone based turns to be a great tool for them to really assess how far the project is, what their current fair value is, so that the venture capitalists can now better report to their LPs.
Yeah, you're totally right. Like when I started working, I came to the cryptosphere from the volunteering background. So I've been doing a lot of social work, and I'm like super idea-driven person. And what catch my interest in milestone-based particularly is that the idea of it is very fundamental, and if to do it right, it can really change the world, and this is the thing that I'm very into. So, and like there's a lot of things that mass and base can bring to the society, even society, and like not even the whole cryptosphere, I would say. Yeah, so and while I'm working on the mouse and base for like 2 years already, if I'm not mistaken, I would say that we always find some new things where we can apply our solution. So like you mentioned about auditors, this is the thing that we've explored like 3 weeks ago, if I'm not mistaken. But
Yeah,
for that, like mass and base can be applied everywhere, like real estate investments and management, even some governance in governmental institutions that can be used by governments in different countries, not only investments into the like crypto projects with the help of the VCs. So like this, the idea that stands behind it's like huge. It's really huge, and this is like what drives me to move forward, to do this job and to work on the milestone based. So yeah, that's how the things look for me from the inside. But there are people that are saying, there are a lot of such people that are saying that big institutions, big players, they are not so much interested into bringing regulations, especially in the crypto sphere, where people aim to the decentralization. So those people will not be like very eager to support this movement. What do you think about that? What's your point of opinion here?
Oh gosh, yeah, it's interesting. And also, there is a question from Hussam Al Ghazali. He is asking what we think about the STOs, the regulations of DAOs, and countries who adopt BTC as legal tender. So speaking about the regulations, I think that overall, like regulations should be a good thing. And what I'm seeing in crypto right now, especially from the perspective of Abu Dhabi, that's where I live. So I understand what perspective people in that part of the world have towards crypto, and it's very positive. It's like uh, DeFi and crypto is definitely seen as a way for innovation, both locally to create better inclusion, engagement, equality, but also across the world. Like Abu Dhabi has that definitely an ambition to become the financial hub of the entire Asia and Africa, and they are not far from from becoming such or being such alongside with other capitals of the region, such as what Riyadh in Saudi Arabia. We've got, of course, Singapore, Hong Kong, which are strong, capitals of the world. But Abu Dhabi is quite optimistic about DeFi. Um, Other good things about crypto is that, believe it or not, it's like it's super traceable. It's so transparent. It would be really hard for you to track the cash. It's relatively easy to track the bank wires and stuff like that. But you can trace any crypto movements in the real time. And now with a lot of AI and like machine learning being applied to determining like whose address belongs to whom with some probability, as well as with a lot of KYC being done by almost every exchange right now, the information on what address belongs to whom is actually quite available to the secret services and other agencies. So uh, crypto finally is like very trackable. So in in theory, um, nothing should stop from like adopting crypto on a wider scale sooner rather than later for the governments because they can track it. At some point of time, when the governments have all the information about who owns what and what belongs to whom, um, they will hopefully issue an easier regulation, and the banks and the traditional finance will merge with crypto. It's my stance. It's how I see the future. Governments, though, there are governments that are, especially in the smaller countries where the change is easier to achieve, and the smaller countries have to fight for their place on the global scene. Like they have to find their like value and a differentiator for how they are better uh, than the more established ones. Like Italy is selling fashion and probably some industry. France is definitely known for wine and cheese and luxury goods. Great Britain is the financial center. Germany is known for the machinery, for the automakers, um, for other things. So every large and a more mature country has their point of positioning. The newer countries, or the countries that have been like uh, the known as the part of the third world and other developing countries, now they need to find their place under the sun. So a simpler and more attractive crypto regulation is a way for them to attract the capital from other countries in the world. So that's why we see El Salvador and others to adopt Bitcoin. I think that's the right move, and I hope these smaller countries will be able to come up with the regulation that actually promotes and stimulates crypto versus large countries such as the U.S., where obviously SEC and others' main role is to protect the investors and protect the consumers against fraud and fraudulent activities. Um, and again, the role of the systems that can track things is like super important, because imagine you have like the VCs have this issue right now. Like when the LP is deploying the funds into the VC now, how does the VC manage these funds, and where do they get deployed, and what happens after they are deployed? It's very intransparent and untraceable. It's not traceable in the real time. So while the LPs do not care about it too much because they are trusting the GP and there is a lot of like legal structure, it would become much easier in the future when you can replace the legal framework. And in fact, you need to spend a good, $250,000 in legal fees and setup fees to set up the venture capital firm. Imagine how available the venture investing will become to many family offices and the high net worth individuals that, for example, have exited some of the startups in the past and want to set up their micro VC. And if they had a simpler way to just kick off the company, and how I see the future is that the free zones of the future are going to be run by the blockchain and smart contracts, where the company will be represented by a smart contract or a set of smart contracts. And you'd be able to set it up in one go as soon as you have your digital ID and your private keys to be able to transact. And then the taxes would be paid automatically upon every transaction, if you will, and many other creative things and efficient things for the economies is possible if you start thinking, well, great, how do we replace these bureaucratic and human-driven processes with the smart contracts that you deploy once, and then you have the templates for them, they've been audited, and they can do things for you, automatically and fault proof. I hope I did not get too far. Like, I have a vision for how blockchain would change the world by 2050, but yeah, maybe I'll share it in a year 2030.
Yeah, we will be very happy to look at this. Me personally, I will be interested to see this vision. Yeah, I can just add to what Ian told is about DAOs and the regulation of DAOs. So yesterday I've been to the conference Web3 Go in Kiev. So there were like the main community of crypto players in the Ukraine gathered there, and we the one of the speakers was Dmitry Buterin, the father of Vitalik Buterin, and there was discussion considering DAOs also, and especially how DAOs can be implemented into the governmental system in order to prevent corruption happening in the country and to give more power back to the people who pay in taxes, let's say, and to help them to regulate all of the things. So there are definitely, like, not only me but like other people from the community see that this might happen. But I think, and like the people that we were talking to agree with that DAO will not solve all the issues that are happening, because there's also the human factor in here. So like, but definitely blockchain and the DAO system can give the tool for people that have like good intentions to regulate the countries in the proper way, to actually have it done and to give the transparency. So I also think that those things will be DAOs and other systems of management will be implemented in the governmental system in future, not only in crypto, not only with the startups, not only with the investing into them or other things, but we are too early to have this implementation seen on the real case right now. Yeah, that's
Yeah, but what do you think of milestone based? Do you think it's too early to show our audience a little bit of how it looks, and how the roadmaps are being managed? Can you walk us through a very quick, maybe 2 minutes product demo?
yeah, definitely. 1 second. Can you see my screen?
No, not yet.
Okay.
Not
Yeah.
yet.
I
Okay.
don't think that I don't think that milestone base it's too early. I think milestone base is the right time for the market. People were suffering a little bit because of the previous events that happened in the crypto world, as it like FTX crash and other things that were happening. And right now, the community is becoming more refreshed and still eager to do something. So, like Milestone Base is the perfect tool for them to manage their assets, startups, venture capital firms more regulate in more regulated way. So yeah, I'm very delighted to show you the Milestone Base. Like this is the main core, the main functionality you can see by yourself coming to the platform. So in milestone based, we propose funds management to be done a little bit differently than it was done previously. So here you may see the set of milestones that every startup needs to have achieved. And there is the budget that is allocated per each milestone. Like, for example, you're a startup owner and you need allocate 200K for marketing purposes in order to grow your startup audience. So you mention all this information in the roadmap. And once you did all of these things, once you have this plan completed in your heads and you have it here, you can deploy it into the blockchain on our platform. And then you can track everything, that's like how much money you need to fundraise and make it visible to investors, and how much money is already funded into this roadmap. Stuff like that. So the investor can come to the platform easily, uh, review your roadmap, and like connect with you, or um, connect in any other ways, like through the platform or apart from the platform. Uh, Easily connect the MetaMask wallet and invest into your roadmap. And in the return of that, you will receive the tokens that will help investor will receive the tokens that will help him to do voting and influence on your roadmap in case there will be need in this. So the community of token holders, or those who are committed to this roadmap, can propose things, have to change, have to adjust the process. Maybe they can give some nice ideas, stuff like that. And once those proposals are created, the users receive the notifications to vote over this. And in case the majority of community decides that yes, this is cool, let's apply those changes into the roadmap, then money are being reallocated based on the decision of the majority, and startup owner can keep going with the roadmap and just manage it in the way that is better. Yeah, we also have the possibility to close the roadmap in case the community wants to do that. So if the majority of community decides that this roadmap should be closed, then all the money that were not used by the funder, it's important to mention that money are given to startup owner milestone per milestone, not all in once. So the money that were not used, that were locked for the future milestones, will be brought back automatically to the wallets of the investors, and thus they can manage it like in another way. At the same time, startup can have a lot of perspective and really have value add investors that really care what's going to happen with your project and really care about your sustainability. Yeah, that's the brief overview. Ian, would you like to show me something more?
No, actually, it's great. I'm looking forward to using Milestone Base not only for the investments being deployed by Mempool Ventures, but I'm looking forward to using the tool for the companies that I plan to set up myself in the future, because I think it's a great way to align the interests and really get to the solid agreements, and then make sure that everybody sticks to the plan. So really love it. I would love to touch upon the term of the sustainable finance itself, because I think it's quite important to understand it. It's part of the ESG framework. We had Linda, screen a few categories under which milestone based is falling. Do you remember those in terms of the
Yeah,
sustainable finance?
yeah. There have been some categories that are important for humanity to solve in order to
Yeah.
bring more value to all the people, I would say.
Yeah, I can tell for sure that it boils down to the equality and the access to the opportunities and access to capital. Because currently it's almost a full-time job of a CEO and the founder of the company to be doing the fundraising. Like he or she has to set aside everything else and just chase the investors from morning till night. And the reason being is because there is lack of trust and there is lack of transparency that will follow the investment. Therefore, investors will have to do their own trade-offs in terms of like whether they would invest in a startup or not, because they are not sure whether the exchange of their investment for the traction that the startup is promising is actually a fair deal. And how cool would that be if they had more certainty that their capital will be used for the actual progress as envisioned by the startups? What I envisage is that it will create a situation that where the capital will become less expensive and more available to the founders. Maybe it will, like the private equity itself, will become more liquid because let's think of it. If you can break your long-term roadmap down into the milestones that represent a more incremental progress of a startup, how cool would that be if you'd be getting more and more funding for your next milestones uh, in a more automated way, like algorithmic way, uh, as long as you are achieving the results under the current milestones that you've got. So one of the fantasies that I personally have for the next 5 years is to build a algorithmically driven venture capital firm, something that has never existed before. We know of the algorithmic trading and the hedge funds using the algorithms, but venture capital world is very much human based. It's relationship based. Um, the venture capitalists uh, are really like relying on their feel for the project and for the founders in terms of how well are they able to chase them, the venture capitalists. Yeah, how great are they at the follow-ups, what their team dynamics is, and all these things they require the human effort from the venture capital side. And that is a bottleneck to many firms. Like they have more capital than they are able or they need to deploy this year or next year. And the thing is, that's because they didn't have enough people. Um, Same with larger firms, Sequoia or Andreessen Horowitz and other top tier VCs. Their issue is they cannot get into every early stage deal that they would like to get into. And then what happens is if they don't get a hold of a startup early on, then this startup may become successful without needing their money when it's big enough. So that's why they have their scouting programs, but these are also relying on people, and you can't scale it. They like the capital is expensive that way. What milestone based could do in 5 to 10 years from now is really create the ecosystem where the money is being deployed incrementally and automatically, as well as like as long as you're doing well and you're doing your job as the entrepreneur, just keep just keep doing it, like keep working on the actual progress, and the system will make sure that you'll have enough funding for your further milestones. That's the thinking.
Yeah, I think industry definitely needs data-driven venture capital firms, and I think this solution will be also very desirable for everyone. So yeah, do you plan to do it with the Mampu Ventures?
Um, well, maybe I know the things that we are discussing sound a little bit crazy until they don't. Uh, I had the same story with AI back in 2016. I had done my research, and my previous company has been one of the top providers for the chatbot solutions in text to speech, speech to text conversion. And I was telling to people back then, like, give it 5 or 10 years, and AI will replace so many jobs in the market, like you can't imagine. And people listened to me, and they definitely appreciated the opinion, but they were not taking it seriously because, of course, like it was like far away from them. And only with ChatGPT has it become apparent what a proper natural language based AI can do and what tasks it can cope with. Same with this. Like we are discussing this, and it sounds like so far into the future, but at some point of time, especially when it's working, uh, then it will just outcompete everybody else, and then everybody else will be like, "All right, well, of course, this is a way to do things because it's so much efficient. It's like 10 times more efficient than anything else that exists right now." But as for the more immediate goals and milestones for ourselves, I think it's about uh, like getting the venture capital firms on board to actually use the system, and milestone-based plans to use the system for every or almost every portfolio company deployment in the future. And then after that, really work with the auditors and the regulators who may be interested in actually like advocating this on a more organized and official level.
Yep, that's
What do
right.
you think?
Um, yeah, I would say that automatic um, data, it's very important. Like first of all, because business is about data and it's about numbers. So all the time when you're trying to do something in your processes, if you need to improve something, you look at the data. So if to speak about venture capital firm performance, you also need to have a data. So and
Right.
yeah, and why not to make the life of venture capital firms easier and even the life of auditors to provide them with the data and that everyone needs. And when we have like the world is I told that crypto market is speeding up, right? But it's the world is also speeding up. So everyone wants to be more efficient. Everyone wants to have the processes automized as much as it's possible. So I also know some friends of mine that are from that they met at the Web Summit this year in Portugal that actually are building some trading algorithm to see when you need to take your investment back, when you need to exit. So I think that there are a lot of people that they're coming to the same idea and same conclusion, and they only think like who will be able to do it in the best way. That's what I think, considering this.
Yeah, what I know is that, especially for the crypto OGs, once you start explaining milestone based and like escrow system for startups, uh, after like one or two sentences, like a proper seasoned crypto original gangster would be like, "Stop it, Ian. I totally get it. Like the industry needs it." And in so many cases, they would be like, "We even wanted to build this on our own, but you and I, we know how much effort it actually takes to build a system of that level of complexity,
That's
right?
right. Yes, because you need to um, always look what market needs, and there are a lot of different cases that you need to predict in order to provide for the market the best product that is needed for the market audience. So the more complicated the system you're trying to build, the biggest amount of time and effort is needed to actually do this. But at the end of the day, it worth the efforts. So yeah, I know that even AI, if you mentioned about chat GPT, so like people were thinking about building something like AI for like a long time ago, and right now we have some solution, but there are a lot of efforts to do it and to make it actually live and to make it work.
Yeah, for sure. So we are not far from deploying real money, real investments through milestone based. Um, for which I think I will invite you to yet another podcast in a month or two. And I was really excited and happy to talk to you, Anna. You've been a great counterparty to converse on these exciting topics, discussing both the sustainable finance, milestone based, and how we see the future in a very, very long perspective. Um, Once again, thanks for your efforts to making to it. I know you are at the conference in Kiev, Ukraine, and you've had a lot of fun there, I suppose, with other participants. So thanks for hopping on, and I wish you a great, fantastic, and reloading weekend ahead of you.
Likewise, Ian, I'm always happy and have a pleasure to hear about your crazy ideas because I think they're very visionary. So yeah, I was very happy to chat with you, and I think we will come back here with better like with new topics in the future.
I'm looking forward to texting more with you through our corporate Slack. I really miss you sometimes.
Okay, yes, yes. Like we still have working hours, so we can communicate.
All right. Well, thanks so much. Great weekend
See
ahead
you.
of you. Have a good evening. Bye.
Yeah, bye
Thanks,
everyone.
everybody, for attending.